The morning began with a cold sting Arya couldn't shake off. She pulled into her parents' driveway at precisely 6:02 a.m., the soft glow of dawn spilling across the neighborhood. Before she could even step out, the front door swung open. "You're late," her mother, Margaret, said sharply as she tugged a suitcase across the porch. Arya glanced at the dashboard clock, 2 minutes past 6. 2 minutes, Mom, she replied, forcing a small smile as she stepped out to help. But then she froze. Because stepping out behind her mother was her sister, Hazel, dragging her own suitcase behind her with a bright, smug smile plastered across her face. Arya's stomach dropped. "What's going on?" she asked, trying to keep her voice from shaking. Margaret's expression was far too cheerful for the situation. "Oh, Arya, we decided Hazel should come instead of you," she said lightly, as if announcing the most reasonable thing in the world. "She's been so stressed lately, and she really needs this trip." Arya felt her chest tighten. "Instead of me?" "Mom. I've been planning this for years. I paid for everything." Margaret waved a dismissive hand. "And we are grateful, sweetheart. But you're always working so hard. You can take another trip later. Hazel needs this right now." Hazel didn't even pretend to look guilty. She shifted her weight onto one hip, the corner of her mouth lifting. "Thanks for understanding, sis," she said, her voice soaked in fake gratitude. Arya stared at the two of them, her heart pounding as her father, Charles, stepped out of the house. He avoided her eyes as he handed her his suitcase. "This is unbelievable," Arya said, her voice trembling. "This was supposed to be our trip. Something for me to share with you." "It still is," Margaret chirped. "Just, with Hazel instead. Don't make this a big deal, Arya. Your sister really needs a break." Her name was Arya, and for the past 2 years she had worked overtime, every spare hour, every bonus, every sacrifice, to plan a dream vacation for her parents. A once-in-a-lifetime trip. Luxury hotels. Flights. Tours. Dinners. A meticulous itinerary crafted down to the last detail. And now, just like always, they had replaced her with Hazel. Because it didn't matter how much she did. Hazel always came first. Arya clenched her jaw, tasting bitterness. But instead of exploding, she forced her voice flat. "Well, let me get the trunk open," she said. "Wouldn't want you to be late. If this was what they wanted, fine. Let them go. Let them enjoy Hazel." But they wouldn't enjoy it for long. The drive to the airport was suffocating. Hazel jabbered non-stop from the back seat. "Oh my gosh, Mom, did you see that TikTok about Paris? I can't wait to go shopping. Do you think we'll have time? Or will the tours take up the whole day?" Arya gripped the steering wheel harder. Margaret laughed softly. "Oh, we'll have plenty of time. Don't worry. We'll figure it out when we get there." "When we get there?" "Not we including Arya. Just them." At one point, Charles cleared his throat. "Thank you for driving us, Arya. I know this probably feels unusual." Unusual. That was one word for it. Arya kept her eyes on the road. "That's an interesting way to put it, Dad." He shifted uncomfortably, regretting speaking. Hazel leaned forward. "You're not mad, right? I mean, this is really big of you, letting me go. I could never afford this on my own." Arya forced a tight smile. "Of course, Hazel. Enjoy the trip." But inside, something cracked. By the time they reached the airport drop-off zone, her patience was hanging by a thread. She helped unload their bags in stiff silence. Margaret pulled her into a hug. "Thank you for understanding. This means a lot to us. And to Hazel." "Sure, Mom. Hazel beamed. Thanks, Aria. You're the best. Aria stood there and watched them wheel their suitcases away, her plans, her money, her effort, flowing through an airport terminal without her. Something inside her hardened. And she knew what she would do next. The week after the disastrous phone calls, Mara tried to settle back into her normal routine, but normal suddenly felt unfamiliar. For the first time in her life, she wasn't carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations. The house felt strangely peaceful, the quiet no longer heavy but liberating. She made breakfast without rushing. She worked without interruption. She read without guilt. It felt new. But the peace didn't last long. On the fourth day, she received a knock at her door, 3 sharp taps, the kind that carried more irritation than politeness. Mara already knew who it was before she opened it. Her mother. Vivian stormed into the house without waiting to be invited, her purse swinging aggressively at her side. Her father, Daniel, followed behind her, looking uncomfortable but resigned, the same expression he always wore whenever confrontation loomed. Mara, her mom began, hands on her hips. We need to talk. Now? Mara crossed her arms. Then talk. Vivian looked genuinely shocked at her daughter's calmness. She was used to Mara being flustered, apologetic, eager to make peace. This version of her, the one who stood firm, was unfamiliar. Mara, what you did was unacceptable, Vivian said, pacing the living room. Canceling everything like that. You embarrassed us. You humiliated your sister. Mara raised an eyebrow. Did I? Or did you humiliate yourselves by taking a trip that wasn't yours? Vivian stopped pacing. Your sister, Elena, needed that trip more than you. She's been under stress, everybody is under stress, Mara cut in. You just choose to care more about hers. Her father cleared his throat, stepping forward. Sweetheart, maybe things were handled poorly. But your mother didn't mean to hurt you. Mara let out a bitter laugh. That's the thing. You never mean to hurt me. You just do. The words hung heavily in the air, more honest than anything she had ever said to them. Vivian frowned. Mara, don't twist this. We made a decision that benefited your sister. You're stronger. You don't need as much as she does. Stop. Mara's voice cracked like a whip. That's exactly the problem. You always think that. And you use it as an excuse to give her everything and leave me with nothing. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. We thought you'd understand. I always understand, Mara replied quietly. That's why you walk all over me. Vivian opened her mouth to respond, but for once, no words came out. Her defenses, her usual arguments, fell flat. Mara continued, voice steady. You didn't ask. You didn't consider me. You didn't even think twice. You replaced me with Elena like it was nothing. Vivian's shoulders tightened. You're making this bigger than it is. No, Mara said firmly. This was the final straw, after years of favoritism and excuses. You didn't just take a trip away from me. You took my effort, my time, my sacrifices, and gave them to someone else. Daniel finally stepped closer. What do you want from us? Mara looked at her parents, the people she had spent so long trying to please, and felt something shift inside her. What I want, she said slowly, is respect. Equality. Basic consideration. And if you can't give me that, then I will love you from a distance. Vivian's eyes widened. Distance. Yes, Mara said. Boundaries. Something I should have set years ago. There was a tense silence before her mother finally snapped, so you're punishing us. I'm protecting myself, Mara replied. Daniel's voice softened. We never wanted to lose you. You haven't lost me, she said. But you don't get easy access anymore. Not until I see real change. Vivian looked offended, Daniel looked tired, and Mara felt free. Her mother's voice wavered. We're your family. And I'm your daughter, Mara said, not a doormat. Vivian seemed ready to argue again, but Daniel gently placed a hand on her arm. Vivian, enough. Her mother closed her mouth, visibly stunned. Daniel looked at Mara with a quiet sadness. We'll try, he said softly. It might not be perfect, but we'll try. Mara nodded. Trying is a start. Her parents left a few minutes later, both silent as they walked to their car. When the door closed behind them, Mara let out a long breath. It didn't fix everything. It wasn't a perfect resolution. But it was more than she had ever gotten before. For the first time in years, Mara had finally been heard. And she wasn't going back to the old version of herself ever again. The following week, Mara made a conscious decision to reclaim her routine. No more checking her phone every time it buzzed. No more anxiety curling in her stomach every time her parents crossed her mind. She was determined to rebuild her life, piece by piece, without letting old wounds drag her backward. But life had a way of testing boundaries. It was Monday morning when her phone lit up with a message from Elena. Elena, we need to talk. This whole thing has gone too far. Mara stared at the screen for a few seconds before locking her phone and placing it face down on the table. She wasn't ready. Not for her sister. Not yet. Instead, she grabbed her bag, slipped on her shoes, and stepped outside for a walk. The cool air felt grounding, each breath releasing tension she'd been carrying for years. She walked to a nearby cafe, the one she'd always passed but never made time to visit. Inside, the smell of freshly ground coffee and warm pastries wrapped around her like a hug. She ordered a cappuccino and sat by the window, watching people pass by. For the first time in a long time, Mara felt like she had control. Halfway through her drink, someone slid into the seat across from her. Sienna. Her best friend gave her a knowing smile. Your mom called me again. Mara groaned. What did she say this time? That you're being unreasonable. Sienna sipped her drink calmly. So I told her to stop calling me because I'm not her emotional secretary. Mara laughed, covering her face with her hands. I love you. I know you do, Sienna replied with a wink. Then her expression softened. How are you holding up? Mara paused before answering, trying to find the right words. I'm tired, she admitted. But also relieved. It's strange. I feel like I should be more upset, but mostly I feel lighter. That's because you finally put yourself first, Sienna said. That's a big shift. Mara nodded. I just don't know what to do about Elena. She's the loudest. The most dramatic. And she never thinks she's wrong. Sienna leaned back in her chair. She's used to getting her way. You're not giving in. That's a shock to her system. Mara knew Sienna was right. But knowing didn't make it easier. Later that afternoon, after her walk and coffee date, Mara returned home. She sat on the couch, debating whether to check her phone. Eventually, curiosity won. She opened Elena's message thread. There were now 7 texts. Why are you ignoring me? You ruined everything. Mom and Dad are miserable because of you. I don't get why you're doing this. It was just a trip, Mara. Grow up. Call me. Mara let out a long exhale. A trip? No. It was never just a trip. Her phone buzzed again. A video call from Elena. Mara stared at it, jaw tightening, and after a few seconds, she answered. Elena appeared on screen, hair in a messy bun, face blotchy with lingering frustration. Finally, she snapped. I've been trying to reach you. I saw. Well? Aren't you going to explain yourself? Mara blinked. Explain, myself? Yes. Elena threw her hands up. You embarrassed us. You screwed everything up. You, Elena, Mara interrupted gently but firmly, do you even hear yourself? Her sister frowned. What's that supposed to mean? You're acting like the victim. Like something was done to you. But you're not the one who worked overtime for 2 years. You're not the one who planned everything. You're not the one who was replaced. Elena crossed her arms, defensive. Mom said you'd understand. And she was wrong, Mara replied. A flicker of uncertainty crossed Elena's face, but it vanished as quickly as it came. You didn't have to go nuclear, Elena muttered. Canceling everything. That was extreme. So was taking me off the trip without a second thought, Mara shot back. You didn't even ask if it hurt me. Elena looked away, guilt creeping along her features. Mara noticed, but didn't soften. She'd played that game before. Mara, Elena said quietly, I didn't think it was a big deal. Mara nodded slowly. Exactly. Her sister blinked. What do you mean? You never think my feelings matter, Mara said. None of you do. You're all so used to me being the reliable one, the fixer, the one who won't cause trouble. And because of that, you assume I'll just take things. Forgive things. Move on. Elena swallowed hard, but her voice stayed stubborn. You're blowing this out of proportion. Mara's heart dropped a little, not from sadness, but from clarity. Elena, she said softly, this conversation is exactly why our relationship is where it is. What's that supposed to? I'm done trying to make you understand, Mara said. I'm done being the only one who cares. Elena's mouth opened, then closed. Mara, are you saying you don't want to talk anymore? Mara shook her head. I'm saying I'll talk when you're ready to treat me like a sister. Not a backup plan. Before Elena could respond, Mara ended the call. She set her phone down and leaned back, breathing deeply. It hurt, it always hurt, but this time the pain came with strength, not submission. She wasn't running away. She was rising. When the truth finally rose to the surface, Ian sat quietly in the company's reception area, a file resting loosely in his hands. The soft hum of printers and keyboards filled the air, but his mind was far away. The last 2 weeks had shaken his world, Amara's false accusations, Caleb's unnecessary involvement, and Serena's unwavering courage to stand for the truth. Today was the HR hearing. Official statements. Evidence submission. Final verdict. Ian had gathered everything, recordings, screenshots, witness statements. But despite being prepared, his heart felt heavy. He never wanted any of this. He never wanted drama. He never wanted to fight a battle inside the company, where he spent years building his reputation. But sometimes, life doesn't give you a choice. The reception door opened. Serena walked in. There was tiredness in her eyes, but her voice carried the familiar calm that always grounded him. Ian, are you ready? He gave a faint smile. As ready as anyone can be. Together they walked toward the boardroom. Across the long conference table sat Mr. Holloway, the senior HR head. Stern. Expressionless. Cold professionalism wrapped around him like armor. Let's begin, he said, opening the file. The investigation begins, Mr. Ian, Holloway started. You reported that Ms. Amara falsely accused you of creating a hostile work environment. Please walk us through the incident again. Ian exhaled slowly. He didn't want to relive it, but he needed to. Sir, I was only discussing the project numbers that day. Amara raised her voice first. I've never had any personal issues with her. Holloway rubbed his chin. And the messages you submitted, are you sure they are authentic? Absolutely, Ayla replied. They are time-stamped. Backed up. Unedited. Serena slid another file across the table. Sir, we also have written statements from Emily and Faraz confirming Ayla's conduct was professional at all times. Holloway's eyes narrowed slightly. You're assisting him quite a lot, Miss Serena. For a moment, it felt as if he questioned her integrity. Serena straightened her posture. I'm assisting the truth, sir. Personal involvement has nothing to do with this. Ayla felt a deep respect for her in that moment. When the world turned its back on you, having even one person stay by your side changes everything. The door slammed open. Amara walked in with her usual dramatic flair. Ayla is lying, she shouted. He's manipulating all of you. I felt unsafe around him. Ms. Amara, please sit, Holloway said firmly. She pulled a chair, visibly trembling, whether from anger or guilt, no one could tell. Serena asked calmly, can you point out which part of his statement is false? Amara's eyes welled up. He always made me feel pressured. Like he owned the place. Holloway leaned forward. Do you have any proof of this? The room fell silent. Completely silent. Finally, Amara whispered, no, but I felt it. Serena responded softly, feelings matter. But accusations need evidence. Amara shot a cold glare at Serena. You're defending him because you like him. The room froze. Ayla's heart skipped for a moment. But Serena simply inhaled deeply and answered with calm, unshakable clarity, I defend the truth. And the truth is, your story is inconsistent, Amara. Holloway closed the file. Ms. Amara, after reviewing everything, it's clear that Ayla has no misconduct. You will receive a formal warning for filing an unsubstantiated claim. Amara's face twisted in shock, anger, embarrassment, disbelief. This is unfair, she yelled before storming out of the room. Silence after the storm. The meeting was over, but it felt like Ayla had run a marathon. Holloway stood. You're cleared, Ayla. Welcome back to full duties. Ayla nodded, murmuring a quiet thanks before stepping out into the hallway. Serena walked beside him. Neither spoke, but the silence was not awkward. It was soft. Understanding. Healing. Inside the elevator, Ayla finally whispered, thank you, for everything. Serena looked at him gently. Truth shouldn't need courage. But when it does, someone has to stand for it. And for the first time in 2 exhausting weeks. Ayla felt a weight lift from his chest. The day everything finally made sense. The next morning, the office felt different, lighter, quieter, almost peaceful. But inside Ayla, a strange mixture of exhaustion and relief swirled. After the HR hearing yesterday, he slept for the first time in what felt like weeks. No worrying. No second-guessing. No fear of what would happen next. Still, part of him wondered, what now? What happens after your name is cleared, but your heart is still bruised? He walked into the office, receiving polite smiles from colleagues. Some were warm, supportive. Others were awkward, unsure how to act after the chaos. Ayla didn't blame them. People were comfortable only with simple stories, not complicated truths. Approaching Serena's desk, Serena was organizing documents with her usual calm focus. When she looked up and saw him, a genuine smile touched her lips. Morning, she said softly. Morning, Ayla replied, pulling out a chair beside her desk. Got a minute? Always. He hesitated, not because he didn't know what to say, but because the words were too heavy. I don't know how to thank you, he began. You stood up when you didn't have to. You risked your reputation for me. Serena leaned back slightly, her eyes thoughtful. Ayan, we're colleagues. More importantly, we're human. When something wrong happens, someone has to take responsibility and say, this isn't okay. That's all I did. He shook his head. No. You did more than that. Her expression softened, but she didn't speak. She knew he had more to say. Before Ayan could continue, Caleb approached. The tension was immediate. Caleb stopped 2 feet away, hands tucked awkwardly in his pockets. Ayan, got a second? He asked. Serena glanced at Ayan. He nodded gently. Sure. Let's talk. They stepped aside near the corridor windows. Caleb cleared his throat. I wanted to apologize, he said. I believed Amara too quickly. I didn't even ask for your side. That wasn't fair. Ayan studied him for a moment. Caleb wasn't pretending. His posture, expression, tone, everything showed genuine regret. Thanks, Ayan said simply. But why the sudden change? Caleb sighed. Serena told me everything. And she was right. I was biased. I was angry about the project transfer, and let it cloud my judgment. Ayan nodded slowly. Bias happens. But fixing it, that matters more. Caleb managed a weak smile. So we're good. Ayan paused. Then extended his hand. We're good. The handshake wasn't warm, but it wasn't cold either. It was a beginning. Later that afternoon the workload resumed. Emails. Client calls. Project restructuring. But something kept distracting Ayan, not the hearing, not Amara's outburst, not Caleb's apology. Serena. Every time he glanced at her, she was focused, typing, planning, analyzing. She carried herself with a quiet confidence, a kindness wrapped in strength. He admired that. Maybe more than he wanted to admit. As the day ended, most employees gathered their things and left. Serena stayed, working on a document. Ayan approached her gently. You didn't eat lunch today, he said. She smiled faintly. Neither did you. He chuckled softly. Fair point. There was a moment, a silent, comfortable one, where both just stood there, sharing a breath of calm after weeks of chaos. Finally, Ayan spoke. Serena, can I ask you something? Go ahead. Why did you believe me from the beginning? You barely knew me then. She closed her laptop and looked at him fully. Because truth has a sound, Ayan. When someone lies, there's always a crack in their voice. A hesitation. A mismatch. But when you spoke, everything aligned. He blinked, surprised. And, she continued, I've seen how you work. How you treat people. How you handle stress. Someone like you doesn't suddenly become a bully. It didn't add up. Those words hit deeper than Ayan expected. Because for weeks, he had felt invisible, misunderstood, judged, unheard. Serena had seen him. Really seen him. As they walked out of the building, the evening sky was painted in shades of orange and gold. Serena wrapped her scarf around her neck as a cool breeze brushed past them. Ayan, she said, pausing near the exit, this chapter is over. Now you get to start fresh. He smiled, genuinely, openly. I think you're right. They exchanged a quiet goodbye. As Ayan stepped into the fading sunshine, he realized something. It wasn't just the truth that saved him. It was the people who stood beside him, even when the world tried to silence him. And somewhere deep inside, a new beginning had already started. The calm before the unexpected, the next week brought a welcome rhythm back into Ayan's life. For the first time in a long while, work felt normal, emails, client reports, team discussions, strategy meetings. No rumors. No suspicious stares. No panic waiting at the pit of his stomach. It was as if the storm had finally passed, leaving behind clear skies. But peace, sometimes, makes you more aware of the things you've been ignoring. Like the steady way Serena's presence made everything feel balanced. She didn't hover around him. She didn't make things awkward. She just was. A quiet, consistent support in the background of every moment. And Ian found himself looking forward to the smallest interactions with her. A smile across the table. A short exchange of ideas. Even passing each other in the hallway. It was subtle. Unexpected. But real. Monday morning meeting. The weekly planning meeting was usually dull. But today, the energy in the room felt different. Mr. Holloway walked in with a strict, unreadable expression. "We have a major restructuring announcement," he said. Ian straightened, feeling an old flicker of unease. Holloway continued, "The regional director position is opening next month. We need someone with strong leadership, experience, and integrity. I'll be evaluating candidates over the next 2 weeks." A ripple of whispers spread through the room. Ian's heart jumped slightly, not from ambition, but from surprise. He had never thought about a higher position. Not after everything that happened. Not when half the company had doubted him so recently. But he caught Serena's eyes from across the room. She gave the smallest, simplest nod. As if saying, "You're more capable than you think." That single look lit something inside him. Later, by the coffee machine, Serena poured herself tea while Ian walked over. "You look unusually lost in thought," she teased. Ian chuckled. "Is it that obvious?" Painfully, she smiled. "Let me guess, the director position." "Maybe," he admitted. "I don't know if I'm ready. Or if it's smart after everything." Serena leaned against the counter. "Ian, strength isn't about avoiding challenges. It's about knowing when you deserve more. And you do." He stared at her for a second longer than intended. "Why do you always say exactly what I need to hear?" "Because you overthink everything," she replied playfully. They shared a soft laugh, one of those small moments that stay with you far longer than they should. The unexpected message that evening, as Ian packed his bag, his phone buzzed. A message. From an unknown number. "Meet me in conference room C, urgent." He frowned. Conference room C was usually reserved. Who would message him like this? He walked there slowly, cautious but curious. Inside, the lights were dim. A single figure stood by the window. Amara. The last person he expected to see. Her eyes were swollen, makeup smudged, posture defeated. Ian kept a safe distance. "What do you want, Amara?" She sniffed. "I came to apologize." He blinked, unsure if he heard her correctly. "I ruined everything," she said, voice cracking. "I was jealous. Of you. Of how people respected you. Of how Serena trusted you. I made it all up." Ian inhaled deeply. "Do you realize what you did? My job, my reputation, my peace of mind." "I know," she cried. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I needed to say it. I needed you to know the truth from me." Ian felt nothing. No anger. No satisfaction. Just emptiness. "You should apologize to HR," he said calmly. "Not to me." She nodded weakly. "I will. But God, Ian, you're lucky. Someone like Serena, she doesn't just support anyone." That comment struck him unexpectedly. "What do you mean?" Amara gave a tired, bitter smile. "You really don't see it, do you? She cares for you. More than she admits." Before he could process those words, she walked out, leaving him alone with a storm of questions. Walking out of the building, the night air felt colder than usual. Ayan stepped outside, replaying Amara's words over and over. Serena. Caring. More than a colleague. More than a friend. It didn't make sense. And yet, a part of him wondered if he had always known, somewhere deep inside. As he walked across the parking lot, his phone buzzed again. A message from Serena, made it home yet? Just checking. A simple text. But it hit him differently this time, warm, sincere, almost tender. Maybe Amara was right. Maybe this story wasn't just about clearing his name. Maybe it was also about discovering something, someone, he hadn't expected. Ayan typed back, leaving office now. Thanks for checking. He hesitated, then added, can we talk tomorrow? Serena replied almost instantly, of course. Ayan slipped his phone into his pocket, as a small smile formed. Tomorrow suddenly felt important. What the heart had been trying to say. The next morning, Ayan woke earlier than usual. He stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his shirt, smoothing his collar, then laughing at himself. Why was he suddenly nervous? It wasn't a meeting. It wasn't a hearing. It wasn't even a performance review. It was just Serena. But something about today felt different. The message last night, the quiet understanding in her reply, the unspoken warmth between them, all of it rested softly in his chest. He took a deep breath and headed to work. The office felt brighter when Ayan arrived. Serena was already at her desk. A light blue scarf draped around her shoulders, hair tied loosely, eyes focused on her laptop. She looked calm, composed, and somehow more radiant than usual. She looked up the moment he approached. Good morning, she said. Good morning, he replied, unable to hide his smile. Her eyes softened. I got your message. You wanted to talk. Yes, he said. But, maybe not here. Can we step outside during lunch? Just for a walk. Her expression told him she understood exactly what he meant. Sure, she whispered. I'd like that. A sudden change in the air before he could say more, Mr. Holloway walked in briskly. Ayan, I need you in my office. Ayan exchanged a quick glance with Serena before following the HR head. Inside, Holloway motioned for him to sit. I'll get straight to the point, he said. I've reviewed your work, leadership history, and the past 2 years of performance data. You're one of the potential candidates for the regional director position. Ayan froze. Holloway continued, I need you to present a department strategy plan next Monday. This will determine the final shortlist. Ayan nodded slowly. Understood, sir. And Ayan, Holloway added, don't let the previous incident hold you back. It's behind us. For the first time, Holloway's tone carried respect. Ayan stood, thanked him, and walked out, heart pounding with possibility. Serena noticed immediately. What happened? She asked. Ayan leaned forward. Holloway wants me to prepare a strategy plan. I'm being considered seriously for the director role. Serena's face lit up. Ayan, that's incredible. He chuckled. It's terrifying. Good, she said. Only the important things feel terrifying. Lunch break, the walk they stepped outside into the soft afternoon sunlight. For a while, they walked silently, just the quiet rhythm of their steps and the distant sounds of the city around them. Finally, Ayan spoke. Serena. I keep thinking about everything that's happened. She looked at him gently. I have too. He took a breath. When the complaints happened, when people doubted me, when everything felt like it was falling apart, you were there. You helped me stand when I didn't have the strength. Serena smiled faintly. You didn't need me to stand. You just needed someone to remind you that you could. Ayan's voice softened. Maybe. But I keep wondering something. She stopped walking, turning to him fully. What? Ayan hesitated, searching for the right words. Do you support everyone the way you supported me? Or was it something more? Serena's eyes widened slightly, not in shock, but in recognition. As if she had been waiting for this moment too. She looked down, then slowly back up. Ayan. I cared about what happened to you. Not just because it was wrong, but because I care about you. The world seemed to sharpen around him, the sunlight, the wind, the sound of her voice. How long have you felt that way? He whispered. Serena breathed out softly. Longer than I expected. Longer than I tried to hide. Ayan stepped closer. I didn't realize it at first, but you've become someone I think about more than I should. Her lips curved into a shy smile. That's a good thing, Ayan. They stood there, inches apart, with a silence that felt warm, not awkward. A silence that carried truth. A silence that said everything words couldn't. Back in the office the rest of the day passed quietly, but differently. Their conversations were softer, eyes lingered a little longer, smiles held a little deeper. Even Caleb noticed. You two seem close, he said casually. Ayan simply smiled. We're figuring things out. Caleb raised an eyebrow. About time. That evening as Ayan prepared to leave, Serena walked up to him. One more thing, she said. Tomorrow, let's have dinner. Somewhere quiet. Ayan nodded, heartwarming. I'd like that. She walked away, and he watched her go, realizing something undeniable. This wasn't just the end of a difficult chapter. It was the beginning of something new, soft, unexpected, and full of promise. And for the first time in months, Ayan felt hope shaping his future.